Go back music a little bit more. All right. I see us, and I hear us. Hello. All right, folks. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us here at Coded Life. And I see our good friend, Dan Siegel. I know you were... that was a funny gif you posted. Like, you're outside of a store, you're waiting for it to open. Like, come on, get started already.
Ooh, hello.
Good to see you, Dan. Good to see you. All right, folks. So, brand new week, but same old folks here. No. Hey, I mean, we can be old, but we...
Said, oh.
So much energy to start the day, isn't it? Like, start the stream. Like...
Yeah, no, well, same ole, like O-L-E, not old,
Exactly.
O-L-D. Yeah,
exactly.
I got you.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sam Basu. I'm a dev advocate at Progress Software. With me, I have my good friend Jonathan Reed, Sitefinity engineer, also with us. And it's Monday, so brand new week.
It is Monday.
Yeah, and we are starting off with CMS and building real-world sites with CMS and Sitefinity and design and custom pieces and all that good stuff. But how are you, my friend, Jonathan? How are you?
Man, I'm doing pretty well. Had a decent weekend, so nothing too crazy or exciting. Started working on some shelves for my deep wine cellar basement office.
Nice.
Trying to improve my productivity with some shelving. I don't know how that'll help, but I'll let you know.
So, yeah, sometimes the weekends where you would don't do a whole bunch of stuff, that's actually
This is
more
the
relaxing.
best. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I see Visual Studio, and you are in dark mode already.
Sure do.
Cookie points for you. I get called out every time I'm on like light mode, but anyways, I'm old.
You know.
And you mentioned like your background is really dark, so
It is,
helps
yeah.
for you to be in dark mode.
Yeah, you know, I prefer my office to be dark, so it makes it pretty easy that I'm in a basement. And yeah, having light mode on just burns the retinas, man.
Yeah, blinding.
Can't handle it.
Cool. Okay, so I'll let Jonathan kind of bring you up to speed as to what exactly we did. But just for context, like what we're doing here is we are building, like you see on screen, we're building a restaurant site. So imagine you being the owner, the fortunate owner of a multi-billion-dollar global restaurant chain. And you have lots and lots of locations, and they all have their own specifics. They all have their chefs, their menus, their things that are specific to each location. But you have your global corporate site, and everything is on CMS.
Right.
Where did my music go? It went just too low. Okay, there we go.
I don't know. There you go, yeah.
So what we're building here is the structure of it. So you can, as a corporate admin, you can hand off things to each location, and then you have a structure to how they want to show things. There's some geolocation, so people can see where they're closest. And now the music went too high again. All right, there. Just stay there. Just ambient. I don't want to get in the way. So this is all driven from designs that Jonathan started out with. Do you have any of those designs handy, Jonathan?
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah. So we started from the absolute basics, and then you see some of the styles some of the fonts that we come or that ship with the CMS, and then we are customizing things on our own. And then a whole bunch of node modules, because all the styles and everything is pulled together. And then we are writing custom modules, and you wrote a custom service for each location of the restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's what we had been working on sort of for the last 2
2 months.
Days, or meetings, I should say, or casts, or I don't know, whatever we call these things, live shows.
I think it's actually been like 2 months. Like, so we have at least had 8 shows as we build this stuff from scratch.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the design, folks. You see how, like, if you had a design team, like, this is what they wanted it to look like, and it's up to us as devs to bring this to life as close as possible. And it's hard sometimes because as devs we don't always are the most artistic kind, so tools help, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So what we've done is we've begun breaking this down into those smaller components of the CMS, as Sam mentioned, and we have created a couple custom modules, as he mentioned. Now, that thought process, just to give everybody on the same page here, is really us creating structured data or information, and the structures for us are focused around these sliders here. Which, if I jump through a couple here, you'll notice them. So one is these sliders where we built those in one of our early sessions and meetings. And just to note, you can find all our previous sessions on YouTube. Search for Telerik, and there's the Sitefinity Mondays playlist.
It's a whole playlist.
Keep that in mind. Yeah. And we'll add to that every, I won't say every week specifically, meaning that we have to process them a little bit and get them in there. But so anyhow, that's where you can find the things. So yeah, we're really just going through this design and breaking it down into the CMS. This portion here, the locations, is where we've spent, I don't know, at least 2 weeks focusing on building this particular component. So we created a custom content type called locations. That location, what we do with it is, we have a title for the location, of course, address field, amenities, like do they have this drive-through or Wi-Fi, or of course curbside pickup, or whatever else might be important in this day and age, right? Hours, fields, all that great stuff we built out with what Sitefinity calls the module build. We then took a couple operations and we wanted to build out this tool up here in the top right-hand corner. And if I zoom in here, it's really not all that exciting, but what it is actually a location finder. So as the user navigates to this site, we're going to either request their location, or in our case, we're going to go ahead and find it behind the scenes using an out-of-the-box feature of Sitefinity. Once we do that, and we're going to all do it via IP address, once we've retrieved their location, we try to find one that's within a parameter that we might set in our system. And I think we do like 50 or 100 kilometers or something, or miles. So I forget which one I use specifically, but and display it up here on the right. So that's what we've been focusing on. Last week, we actually went with a Hail Mary move. I was having some troubles with my solution recognizing some of my added services. So we decided to show off the CLI feature of Sitefinity to do an upgrade.
An upgrade live on stream, on air.
That's right. And we did it. I actually did get a little bit of feedback from the product team as to why ours might not have failed, or why ours did fail. We ended up having to add manually an assembly binding. If anybody's played with assembly bindings before, you've upgraded a NuGet package, just as a visual closed loop here. Those all live in our beautiful web config, and they look something like this. These are all assembly bindings. We had to add this one specifically for the Sitefinity front end. The CLI should have handled that for us. Yeah.
Sorry, before you go on, just bump up your font one time. Just one point,
more.
Please. Yep.
I went to 132. You want 133, don't you? I'm kidding. Let's do that. How about that?
Yeah, better.
So yeah, we ended up having to manually add this particular assembly binding, which is not the intention of the CLI. What the team had said back to me was, one, maybe we had the web config open in another application, which I don't think we did. The other note that they made was we possibly already had it checked out in Git, causing a lock on the file as well. And that might have caused us to not get this particular portion added. So I took those to heart. Also gave them some feedback on the fact that, well, if that is actually the case, if the file is locked, we should be alerting via the command line of the situation so that we can manually address something. They'll take that feedback and work it in as needed or intended. So a couple things, I guess, for us to try next time would be to ensure that the file isn't opened somewhere in another location, because the CLI will need to edit it. The other note, actually, I just thought of this one off the top of my head, Sam, was possibly the location of my files might have caused a particular conflict, meaning my files are all hosted on the C directory of my machine. Don't ask me why. Well, you can. I do it just in case I die and other people can get to my code. Other than that, I have no other purpose for doing it. But that's also why we have source control. So who knows? That's an old school move, I think. That's where I kick it old, Sam. But anyway, nonetheless, is if I would have maybe run the command line or the PowerShell as administrator, which I don't recall if I did or not, that might have also alleviated the situation. So I just wanted to give you guys a full loop around about what happened last week and why we had to manually add that particular web redirect here, or assembly binding redirect. Again, the CLI should have handled it for us. And so those were some suggestions from the team. So I bet you, though, Sam, we're going to do another one of these at some point. I know a little birdie on this shoulder over here told me that Sitefinity 13.1 is coming out maybe within the next week or two. I don't know.
You didn't hear it first. you didn't hear it here.
I don't know anything. So hey, we might have a chance to throw in another an upgrade during that process too. But I think that gets us all pretty well caught up in the group here.
I appreciate you looking back and just talking to the product team to see what might have been the case. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a little frustrating. I think a little bit for everybody. I mean, it was supposed to work in a certain way, and at least in our minds, it didn't. But we at least got some direction why. Yeah. So two things can happen. One, we're going to improve the product, and or two, we're going to improve the documentation, and or three, all of the above, which is hopefully the course of action. But yeah, and with assemblies, like sometimes, like I'm nervous sometimes with the global assembly cache and everything that goes on. Yeah. Like, is it really picking up the new version, and what do you have to restart? Because I remember you mentioned like you hadn't restarted your computer in a few days.
True.
So that could be another thing. So yeah, who knows? Yep. But we powered through.
Yeah, and I mean, at least my impression of why they even came up with NuGet was to get rid of the GAC, if you will, the global assembly cache. But yeah, it still can play a little bit of detriment on you. The only other thing to note in general .NET development is occasionally you do need to clear out your temporary ASP.NET files, especially if you're a developer working on multiple projects, Sitefinity or not. Clearing out your .NET temporary files does often alleviate some what's the word I'm looking for, where it's few and far between. That's right. Yeah, don't trust the GAC, NuGet or bust. That's right. Yeah, thanks, Dan. For sure.
Yeah. Dan, if you're still watching us, you may remember, like, speaking of old people, you may remember this shirt. This was way back from when we were doing Windows Phone. And Nokia had a whole like champions program, and times were good. But yeah,
right, for sure.
Yeah, I hear you with the NuGet thing, but sometimes like we just need a reboot. You don't know where some of the assemblies are being picked up, or
there's plenty of articles out there too on how to clear your temporary files if you guys ever need. I don't find it often in my Sitefinity, development, but again, it's almost a Hail Mary and a last resort type of touch. So
yeah. All right, let's code. So we had the location thing working.
That's right.
Geolocation.
That's right.
What's next?
Yeah, what's next is I actually wanted to really close some loops on some best practices as we develop out custom widgets, as well as just maybe some client-side components, and talk about what Sitefinity ships out of the box with and what you can maybe extend on for your own development purposes. And what we're going to focus on today is a little bit of JavaScript, and one, how we have our JavaScript working in a separate assembly, and then two, within our Sitefinity web project, so we call it Sitefinity web app, you can really call it whatever you want, how we might utilize npm and Uglify -js to minify some resources, also how we might set up what's included with SAS for Sitefinity and what you might consider setting up. So sort of the course of our actions today is we're going to talk about our client-side components, where things are stored, a few best practices for either utilizing NPM or other tools, and making sure everything works along the way. I mean, that's always the goal. So I think what we'll do first is, well, actually, let me get this one out of the way here. And let me get this out of the way for now. What I want to focus on first is we've been spending a numerous amount of sessions working in a separate class library. So that's corianderlane.locations. Now, the idea for us behind having a separate class library is, one, portability. Maybe there's a reason I need this to be reusable, either in other Sitefinity applications or other .NET libraries. It really doesn't matter. So we've moved it outside to a separate class library. Some other benefits of moving components into separate class libraries are things like unit testing, or just general testing at all. Can facilitate an easier mechanism when you've separated them out into separate class libraries. If you need to test Sitefinity components, don't worry, or things in the Sitefinity context, we do have something called the web test runner. If you did need to maybe test an injection of a custom component, or that's a great point, Dan. I'll mention that in a second. Or you want to be able to write test components. We actually have. As far as tests go, if you need to run any integration type tests, we do have something called the web test runner with Sitefinity. So you can actually work in the in the context of Sitefinity to either insert records, remove records, or again, just to ensure that components are working within Sitefinity. Now, I don't have any plans today to go into this process, but I think it'd be an important conversation through one of these sessions here, Sam, but not today.
Yeah, I don't know what language you're speaking. You're speaking front-end stuff.
I'm speaking a little bit of both things, but...
That's a reality, and this is the reality for most .NET shops, right? I mean, you cannot you cannot run away from JavaScript if you're doing anything on the web. You need to know. You need to know how to Uglify. Right. You need to know how to package and ship things. So Dan also mentioned, having separate class libraries can also facilitate in the fact of not having developers stepping on each other's toes. Excellent point. Also, to piggyback onto that, make sure you're branching your code. With Sitefinity, it doesn't matter if you're using your own Git repository or using the Sitefinity cloud. Please branch. It's a cheap operation. Plus, makes your lives tremendously easier. I do suggest. Dan also runs away from JavaScript. Yeah, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time writing, and some of my talk here has kind of walked a little bit away. We're really focusing on why we have separate libraries, but yeah, I get it. I understand why you might consider moving away from JavaScript. Cool part about it is maybe you look at using something a little bit more structured like TypeScript, and using NPM in some compiled languages to help with that. So, Sitefinity can facilitate it in another way if you do not prefer writing direct JavaScript. We, of course, ship with libraries. jQuery, of course. We also ship with Kendo UI. High five. Woo! You also get access to the DLLs for the RAD components with Sitefinity, but you don't get like the Visual Studio tools without purchasing a developer tooling license, basically. Okay, so I have a dumb question. Like, if you're doing TypeScript, like who does the transpilation? Like, how do you make it work with Sitefinity?
I would most likely do it with NPM and then compiling it down to a particular folder, making sure that folder is deployed then with the project, or that file for that matter. But yeah, I mean, you could do it all through Visual Studio. There shouldn't be any particular issues with that. So. All right. The course of today is we're going to try to use this Uglify JS. And when I say try, I've done it before. I just haven't done it on this particular project. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. But let's talk about a few more practices here. The other thought process Oh, sorry, there's a question there. Danny had a question. So what's the out-of-the-box compatibility with IE? So as far as Sitefinity goes, for the back end or the administration portal of Sitefinity, we're really major version -2. As far as what you want to support on the front end, it's really up to you. It's a matter of how much effort you want to put into backwards compatibility. Since we ship out of the box with Bootstrap 4, I think they sort of follow the same. It's been a while since I've looked at the specification, but I think they're doing major version -2 as well. So that helps. So from the front end perspective, you get the Bootstrap 4 that comes with Sitefinity out of the box. So that's definitely going to help with the IE compatibility. As far as what Bootstrap 4 covers, we're going to go remember together because I don't. Oops, that's not the address. Get Bootstrap, because I don't remember off the top of my head what they actually support.
How do you, the two of you, like both you, Jonathan, and Dan, like how do the two of you like Chrome and I mean the Chromium engine inside of Edge? Do you see that's the future?
I mean, I would presume. To be fair, I uninstalled Edge a long time ago. No, I'm kidding. You can do it. Just wanted somebody to test me. No, I honestly haven't used it all that much. You want to use it today? We can. I don't care.
I use it for some things, and I mean it's fine. It's Chromium. It's
Why you're a big Bing head over there, Sam. So I get it.
Yeah, I may be the biggest Bing user outside of Microsoft. But I saw a funny tweet the other day that said, "Hey, Microsoft might as well just buy out Mozilla and Firefox and just roll with that." So I don't know.
I mean, so here are the two side by side. Of course, we have maybe some specific things that we need to do in order to address some styling here. That's completely on us. But Edge is on the right, Chrome is on the left. They do render a little bit differently, which is interesting. But for the most part,
wait, what's different? I didn't get that.
The height of this column.
Oh yeah, you're right.
The first start, but I don't see anything. I mean, visually wise, it doesn't look. I mean, they all look like they're laid out the same. Yeah, it's interesting. I have to really dig into it, and then you can see here it even loses a little bit of height in that regard, but. For the most part, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it should. So even though your JavaScript engine is the same, they have clearly distinct styles as to how they work with CSS and what they do with rendering. So I'm not surprised that there are tiny differences.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just going to be but I suspect. I mean, this is definitely not what it was like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they probably would have all been side by side 6 months ago for all it matters. So I think the Chromium, is definitely going to push it over the next level. It is nice from a developer standpoint that they're utilizing the same engine. That's not been the case for, ever that I can think of, realistically. I mean, that all three now are using the same engine. Is that right? I haven't spent as much time.
Safari uses WebKit.
Oh, well. I don't count Safari as anything.
Yeah, so Safari is on a different tangent altogether, doing their own thing with you get into PWAs and other things. There are clearly differences between Chromium, big differences between Chromium and WebKit, but yeah.
For sure. I think Dan's point is correct here that the font looks a little bit larger in Chrome. I would agree. The font looks a little bit larger, and even this graphic here. So maybe the line height or something along those lines is being rendered a little bit differently.
All right, let's go.
Questions?
Let's see.
Yeah, no,
let's
good questions.
Your Uglify skills.
Or not. Yeah, there's a couple things let's cover really quickly. So as we built out the locations finder, we did some of these activities really quick, so I kind of wanted to swing back to them to refocus on them just a little bit from the client side point. So within our separate assembly here, we have the capability of actually embedding what I'll call flat files. And what I mean by flat files are files that just are not compiled. So text files, imagery, binary files, if you will. CSS, JavaScript. I mentioned text files. It could be Word files. It doesn't really matter what they are, but you want to include them with your assembly, right? Well, how the heck do you do it? Well, a couple magic clicks and a few hokey pokeys, and you can turn yourself right around. So how do we do it? Sitefinity has a little bit, I think. To be fair, I haven't dug into other implementations of this, so let's focus on how we do it in Sitefinity, and then if anybody has any learning experiences from other platforms, fine by me. But what I typically do is I create a resources folder, and this is still in my separate class library here. I wish I could make this bigger, but you see it right over here, corianderlane.locations. In this resources folder, I then have two folders. Our scripts folder. This has my, JavaScript in it. And again, we've already written all this out, so don't worry, Dan, we're not going to talk much about JavaScript. So I have this file here. How the heck did I get it displayed on my page? Or how did I get the browser to reference it? It's in a DLL, right? Okay. So what we did was we actually used the embedded feature of our properties here. So if you right click on a file, you open up its properties. You have a couple options on its build action. By default, it's going to consider JS, CSS, HTML, CSHTML as a content type file. That's not going to work if we want to deploy it alongside our DLL itself or our class library. What we actually need to do is utilize this embedded resource. This will actually take this flat file and embed it right along with the DLL. We then use some extension methods to then pull in that resource into Sitefinity, or into your web view, or the Razor view, as we'll call it in this particular case.
Yeah, so this is like akin to like in mobile dev, like everything that needs to be just rendered out is marked as an embedded thing, and then the runtime knows how to pull it out. So in this case, like your JavaScript and your CSS, like you're not referencing them anywhere in the main project, right? It's just a DLL reference, and then it knows how to pull it out.
Yes and no. So in the main project, we don't specifically reference this file, but we do reference it in our view itself here. So if we head on over to our view, and again, we probably quickly mentioned this, and look, wrong view. Sorry about that. Let's get this one. And we actually loaded up. Wow, that scrolls fast. Sorry about that. There we go. We actually loaded up right here. We use HTML script. We use this URL.embedded resource. Here is our resource location. And then here's the actual name of the resource. We then inject it into our bottom holding container for scripts and styles, which derives from our layout template. It comes with the out-of-the-box Sitefinity layout template, and also allows you to add more sections into it, but we don't recommend removing some of the standard ones.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. You'll also notice really quick, or maybe you didn't, within this particular folder, I have an actual class file called reference. So the way this has to work is these reference files just need a simple constructor in order for the .NET library to recognize them as a component. So all we really, and this is documented in Sitefinity, all we really need to do is create an empty constructor so that we can use it in these lines right here. So this gives me the reference to the appropriate location. It's kind of strange. And then
this is very strange.
I don't have any answers for it. I just want to call it out so that nobody has a bloody forehead like me.
So, like, what is that object doing? Like the reference of the object? Like it just... So
it alerts... Yeah, it alerts .NET that this is a resource location, basically. And then now we can utilize its full namespace here to access it. But since there's no actual class or file, if you tried to do it without this empty constructor class, it wouldn't be able to locate the file. Apparently, the way the .NET engine works, and this is the part that I don't know that much about, it does not work without having some sort of constructor. And again, I don't know the full reasoning behind this. I think it's just sort of a .NET thing. I'm happy to research it, but I've never really taken much time to do it.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah. So yeah. so you just need that in order to reference those particular components there.
Okay.
I know it's pretty strange. And then you can reference those embedded resources with just one simple line, and then reuse them all over. You could, of course, then reuse them in your layout files. This is how Sitefinity also ships its components or other pieces as needed.
So I see folks come and leave the chat room. So if you are just joining us, folks, I'm Sam Basu, and no, this way. That's Jonathan. He's not. He's too cool to be on social media, so I don't have his Twitter handle, because he doesn't care. It's all about what we do. Yeah, it's not just the fluffy stuff that we pretend to do on social media. It's Jonathan. I
suppose you can find me on LinkedIn or something if you wanted to.
Yeah, so we're building a website. We are building a website for a restaurant chain, and we're using CMS and JavaScript and .NET all together. And so let's get back to what you're doing.
Yeah, and here's just a brief look at that. Actually, okay, so real quick to the chat or anybody else. I know this is, again, just a pretty quick overview, but again, in our separate assembly, we can embed flat files, again, CSS, JavaScript, images, other components, all can be embedded into your library. Allows for portability. If any of you are consultants, maybe there's an opportunity there for you to build a Sitefinity installable module with some sort of unique offering, right? This is the process that we use to build out our custom modules. In fact, this is the same Kool-Aid we drink when we're building out our new components within Sitefinity. Ooh, you got a Kondoku guy right there. I got him on my hat today. See, look at that. Anyway, so yeah, this is the reasonings and the purposes behind us separating them out into separate libraries. Testability is another great reason for it. Oh, as a side note, we can actually scaffold Sitefinity tests directly through our Visual Studio plugin if anybody ever wanted to. We'd simply do that by add Sitefinity, and then here's all the components. And this is just a reminder of what we have. We have resource packages. Resource packages hold all the assets that you need to style your site. CSS, JavaScript, layout files. Layout files are Razor views. All that happens within a resource package. We've touched upon it just a little bit today. Page templates goes inside a resource package. Sounds pretty standard, as it is a template for your pages. A grid widget. This allows you to break your pages up into, anyway, there are lots of components in here. This is the one I wanted to focus on most, just to point out. Integration tests can be added directly into your solution by using the Visual Studio plugin for Sitefinity. To add the plugin, simply go to Extensions, Man Extensions, search for Sitefinity, and add the plugin. Visual Studio 2017, 2019, it's supported on. All right. But any questions, Sam, or anybody out there about hosting resources in a separate class library? Right now, we're going to use this global.js file. We're going to place this into our web application. We're going to get it minified using that Uglify-js, and we're going to make sure that we can reference it probably on our page layout, as we're probably going to need it on every page.
So, like, up until this point, you were not minifying anything, right? Like, all of your JavaScript is just as is.
Correct. And even in this class library, like this closest location file, it's only 50 lines of JavaScript. Well, plus the jQuery that goes along with it. It probably could be minified, right? Yep. So we would then need to implement the minification within this class library. Totally possible. No reason why you can't. We're just focusing on it in the web application, as Sitefinity ships with npm already there, and we just have to make a couple quick changes to do that.
And I'm not a web guy per se. I mean, I know enough to get around, but like modern ASP.NET MVC, I think still does Grunt or Gulp. I'm trying to remember.
Webpack.
Webpack. Oh, okay, they've switched to Webpack. So I mean, you could do that as well, right? I mean, if you wanted to.
Yeah, so you could implement Webpack. I think the thing that gets a little bit cumbersome with Webpack is the location of our resources. I think Webpack expects for a number of the configuration files to be hosted at the root of the application, and Sitefinity doesn't lend well to that. That's where NPM became a little bit better support for us, at least. Especially since we can do multiple resource packages. So basically in each one of these resource packages folders, we can initialize NPM in each one of those and have a complete different set of instructions or scripts that NPM might be running.
Yeah, I think that's a common piece of complaint I've heard from folks who use Webpack day in and day out. Like once you get everything configured, it's good to go.
Oh, it works. Yeah.
But it's a bit of a challenge to get everything hooked up right.
Yeah, and I think that's the memory of my realization of why I couldn't use Webpack, or maybe we even documented it somewhere. I don't remember, but yeah, it didn't lend itself well to the Sitefinity structure that we had gone after. So yeah, we do use NPM and NPM scripts. So yeah, I think we can take the next 25 minutes or so and dive into that and hopefully get this running. So. As a reminder, we're in this resource packages folder over here. Again, this holds your layout files, widget and page templates. This includes your CSS, your JavaScript. This has got all your Bootstrap stuff in there. We're also, of course, implementing or importing, I should say, other libraries. So this is where we're importing Font Awesome. This is where we're importing Bootstrap. So all of that's happening within each one of these folder structures. I've already added this global.js. This is the file that we're going to be after to minify. In the end, we want it to produce into this distribution folder right here, JS. Okay, so under assets, distribution, JS, that's where we want it to live in the end. But for now, we'd have to reference it out of this source folder, which not wrong, but doesn't lend itself to the practice here. From there, in this root, so coriander lane _ BS4, so Bootstrap 4, we're going to look at the package.json folder. This is where you can implement additional scripting and components within NPM. I added one thing before the call started. It didn't really get me too far, but it's this configuration right here. So we just want a central configuration to where the JavaScript files are going to live. Looks like my tabbing got a little bit off. I'll do a Control KD, Control Command fruit something in Mac. I don't know. Sam will translate it for you.
Command Shift E and then K. Yeah.
Wow, that's way different. All right. Or just formatting the code there. Yeah. So, okay, now we have a JavaScript reference. That's fine. We're going to reuse that down here in this scripts component. As down here in the scripts, this is what actually initializes and runs through the command line, right? So when you say npm start or run or build, in this case we have start, which is the one we're going to use the most. It's going to run S, so silently. It's going to do the build command, and it's going to do the watch command. So it's going to run this line, and we're going to attach into that all of that here in just a moment. But let's first look at not our design files. Oh, down here in Chrome. All right, let's look at how we set up this particular one. So we can install it globally, or we can install it just for the programmatic use. We really only need to install it for the programmatic use. So let's go ahead and do that. We can do it right here, I believe, through our, it's not there. Let me get my command window here. There we go. All right. Oh, you know what? That's actually not going to work because it's not going to allow me to do it in a specific folder as easy as I want it to do. Let's go a different route. We'll go ahead and just open up. I use PowerShell, but you can use whatever. Command line works fine too. All right, so I opened it up. Oops, one folder too deep. Sorry. All right, so we are now in the Coriander Lane underscript Bootstrap 4. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure npm is initialized. So let's just go npm install. We're just going to make sure that we have all the stuff that Sitefinity ships with out of the box installed. In fact, let me grab the documentation while I'm letting that do its thing here real quick too for everybody's knowledge. All right, so it should be here. Just write article. All right, cool. I'll toss that in the chat as well. All right. Make sure we're good here. Actually, I should put this one in there as well. That actually has the command I was looking for. All right, so we just really done this npm install, which again brings in all the repositories, much like a NuGet reinstall or something along those lines. Same concept, just more client-side based components. Let's see if that's done yet. All right, we're done there. That's good to go. So we don't need to do anything else at this point, except maybe install our newest component that we want. And what was the name of it again? We'll just use this. I'll copy and paste because that's what we do. I'll just use that line there and paste it here. This will now install the Uglify-JS as part of this particular package. It'll also add it into the packages .json file so that the next developer, when they go npm install, it would also install on their machine. Much, again, like NuGet, if you're more familiar with that. So we should see a change here. There we go. Now it's added as a dev dependency, so it doesn't get deployed. It doesn't, anything else, but is now here as part of the dependencies.
Nice. Okay, can I ask you a dumb question?
Please.
So the JavaScript and the CSS that you showed were embedded resources. Like those are going to be
so that's a little bit
DLL, right? Okay.
Yeah, so that's on that separate class library here, where we actually marked those JavaScript and CSS components as an embedded resource. So that way they ship with this DLL. So I could place this DLL in another Sitefinity project, and it would still have those embedded resources and still reference them correctly. Right now, we're working in the main project structure or the actual CMS project, and we're working in the resource packages folder where all these files are still considered content. And what we want to do is we want to grab those, we want to make them smaller, and then use the smaller version as part of the deployment.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, you got it though. Yeah, I know. I maybe should have introduced that a little bit differently, but yeah, you have the concept correct.
And then if you, one more thing. Like if you wanted to bring in these things as like from a CDN node, you would essentially change the references to something more dynamic.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, this same. Let's see here. We'll grab just one real quick. If we look at our main layout here, so this same HTML style, instead of widget content, you can actually supply a URL in these as well, and it's let me see if it'll give it to me. So it should be like URL dash. Content.
That's all that matters. Yeah. Like you just change it up to dynamic. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and then you can utilize a CDN. Absolutely. Now, just as a point of brevity and clarity, if you happen to utilize a CDN on your site, Sitefinity will not allow you to do it by default. This is on purpose. This is for your protection. We do have a web security module in place in order to block you from cores, XSS, those types of components. Super easy to fix, no problem at all. Anybody with the administration backend access can do it by default. You'll just have to register the CDN location as either a script reference. Whoops, we modified our web config, so the site's restarting. So as a script reference or CSS reference or even iframes for those matter would have to be allowed through our web security module. So before you could end up with a bleedy forehead if you don't implement it in the web security module. It's pretty evident. You'll notice it in your console once you open up developer tools that the resource has been blocked, and in fact really tells you exactly where to place the component to unblock it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm getting a little concerned though. You have mentioned like bleedy foreheads a few times, and you are sitting in front of like a stone wall. So just let's maintain our sanity.
Oh, I mean, we're safe. Just real quick too. I mean, this is what these are for. These are great things. But under our settings here, we can get to that web security module. I just want to quickly show you how easy this would be, even for your marketing team. Again, they may decide on a whim to grab some CDN location because they want some new functionality. Well, guess what? We're going to block it on purpose, just to make sure that somebody has validated it and add it. So under trusted sources here, we can simply add in any additional component. So most likely if it's a JavaScript, you'd add it under scripts here. And you can even see we have Cloudflare added here because we use it on a number of things. But yes, you would just come in here and just say, xyz.com, whatever it is, /money, whatever the URL.
Yeah.
Okay, so very easy to get those components in there.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep sidetracking you. Let's go back to Uglify.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it. All right. Okay, so save there. All right, so back over here to our package JSON. So again, I've added just a configuration to let it know where the file exists at. Let's also give us a minified JS name. So let's give our location for it to store our file. I didn't really set that up right. There we go. Oh my goodness. Quit auto giving me things when I do it in the wrong order. Okay. And let's just name this as global.min.js. We're going to reuse these down below when we're calling our scripts. And I know I need to reuse those as we're going to have to do this. So we have Uglify, compress it, mangle it, and then, here's the input file. And we can also specify, I believe, of course, the output file name. But let's double check our options here. Beautify, output options. Here you can do the output file path. We'll need to do that. So keep frames. Let's see what else we got. All right, I think those are the only ones that I wanted to identify. Probably also want to make sure that we have a configuration for maybe the output path. So output JavaScript path. Oh, I forgot my quotes again. Let's do it on this side so it doesn't get so angry. All right, there we go. And in this case, we're going to use a combination of them. So we're going to go assets /dist/JS. So that's the end. We're going to tag that along with this. Actually, we can piggyback off that one. So really, we just need to go /JS. So we'll reuse this distribution folder. Actually, we can reuse the asset portion. That's all good. Let's just go with that for now. Okay, so what we want to do next is we want to create a script reference here in order to go ahead and build out the components that we need. So we probably want to identify it before we have the build, as build is going to be the one that's going to call it, right? So probably similar up here in this SAS area. We follow a couple components here where we have like the build method, and then we have the actual method that calls another one. So let's follow the same sort of naming convention here. Let's go like a JS build. Whoops. Put that in there. There we go. Sorry, it auto-corrected and added that into another thing. Okay, so let's go JS build here. We're going to run it silently. That's what run s does. Then we're gonna go Uglify. Is that right? Let's get these side by side here. All right, so Uglify JS. Let me get a couple of these out of the way. Boom, there we go. So Uglify JS. We definitely want to compress it. We definitely want to mangle it.
This, while you're typing this, by the way, folks, is professional software development where you put docs and code side by side and you copy paste.
All right. Here now we're going to need to reference the JavaScript source location, so we can use our and we can get this up a little bit bigger. We can use our npm components to do this. So we can go npm package config, and then we reference the name of it. Npm takes care of grabbing all the components. Where did I go? Right here. All right, so we want config, and the name of the config is JavaScript. Let's just copy it from up here. All right, so that's going to bring in the file name, the file location. Actually, let's go ahead and do this a little bit differently. Let's give it its full path here. So let's go global.js. That'll make our lives a little bit easier. Okay, where am I at? Build right here. Okay, so that is going to be the file, and then we want to identify the output of where it's going to go. So let's go with, we can go npm config. Let's do this. Let's go minified location path, and let's just do it there because this will go a little bit faster. So let's put it here. Sorry, I'm changing my mind on some things on the fly here just to make some components hopefully a little bit easier and faster for us. Okay, so let's go ahead and use this path name here. Copy. Oops, build JS. All right, so the output will now be this plus this. Okay, perfect. All right, so now we got a build task here. So that is helpful. Now we can actually, oops. You know what? We don't need to label it this way because we're doing multiple components here. We're really just calling one thing. I think we can make this a little bit simpler and just toss this in here into the build. So now it should run all of these and be on its way.
Jonathan, just a reminder, like the bottom left corner of the screen is blocked by your camera, so you may want to scroll up if you need to.
Yeah, here, let me open this back up, and that'll push it over. There we go. Thank you for that reminder there. That should push it over enough, right?
Yes.
All right. Aha! All right. That should be enough for us to at least get going. Now, what's going to happen here is when it hits this build task here, it will also execute our JS tasks, which we created up here. Build then gets called in this start component here, as well as the watch. Now, we haven't set anything up for watch. Let's worry about that in a second. So right now, we'll have to run npm start each time we want it to recompile our JS. We can change that in a moment, but I just want to make sure it runs first. And that may be as far as we get today. We'll see. So let's go ahead and go npm start, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it's running the image minification, the copy of the sprites, copy of the files, still running that. All right, Sass build, post CSS. All right, it's rendering the CSS files. Yay. All right, let's see. It's doing the same thing. asking us to update something. Not worried about that right now. No images minified. Yep, that's fine. Uh-oh, something went bad. All right, let's see what we did wrong here. Run silent. Uglify AS. Failed at. It's probably a problem with NPM. Complete log. All right, so maybe we'll go look at that log.
What was it failing on a JavaScript file?
I'm not sure. It doesn't say exactly. So, but it did give me a location where the log exists. So I suppose we're gonna go look at that. All right. So here is the log. We could also throw a verbose on there too, and it would give it us in the output. Okay, run boom boom. Right it there. Okay, it's not very helpful. Unsafe. Ooh, that's a long one. Huh. What is unsafe perm in lifecycle true? Oh, maybe I have some fail to use. args dsc run s build watch. Okay, maybe I messed up a parameter here. Let's look at that output file. That was the only one that I wasn't confident about. Output file dash o, lowercase o. Okay, should be fine. Let's make sure. So run, where are we at? JS. Run silently. Press mangle to this location. JavaScript script source. Assets. Source project scripts global. All right, let's make sure that is real. Assets. Source project scripts global. So global, right? Okay, that seems to be fine. So assets distribution. Okay, that seems to be fine. Let's get.
Do you want to try verbose?
I see what the problem was. I had two configuration fields because I did some fun things in my brain on the fly. I used the wrong. No, I didn't use the wrong path. Never mind. I take that back. I thought I used the wrong path there, but we're good to go there. Okay, we can so let's do one other thing here. Let's add a. Actually, you know what we can do is we can actually run this one individually. I think we can just go npm js. And I should be able to run this one independently. Maybe not. All right, I thought I could run that one individually. Let me just make sure we spelled. Oh no, we copied this, right? So, sure.
Like it did do a bunch of it, but then it failed on one.
Yeah, it's failing. It's failing on this one we just added here. So. Maybe let's change the order. Oh, also check this out too. Some of these have a $sign reference, and some of them don't. Maybe I need to use the $sign reference in the command. I don't actually. I'd have to look up what the difference is. So please don't ask because I don't know. All right, let's try that. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, let's go npm start again. All right, let's try this one more time. I think. See if that.
Going.
All right, we're running. All right, run the CSS. Uh-oh, failed again. Why? All right, well, know what we can do is we can try, let's try the command alone. So let's go, let's just make sure it's working. Uglify JS. All right, what commands are, okay, so Uglify, compress, angle. The location is assets. Source slash, oops, scripts. I wonder if we just go like a blanket JS here instead, because we would want them all to combine anyhow if we place more than one in there. So let's loosen that up a little bit, and let's try to make the output go to assets slash JS2 slash JS slash. Well, there we go. That'll throw you for a loop right there. So what did I do wrong here? You guys watched me install it. Oh, I mean.
Is that even the right error? Like it doesn't recognize Uglify? How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know. Just for giggles, we'll make sure. Could also be that I'm using PowerShell, not command, so sometimes I think I've seen a difference there. Oh, I know what it is.
Okay.
I think we're gonna try here. I'm gonna run command prompt as administrator, and we're gonna retry it.
Okay. Like you don't have like write access to the output directories.
Mostly because this is where I put my work in the C drive, right? Right. Okay. Let's try that again. So let's go npm install. Oh, I already got it in my paste, don't I? Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's try that now. I just said it was removing it. That's weird. All right, that shouldn't be an issue. All right, let's try. Okay, let's try now. So ugly. Well, actually, let's just do this. All right, I'm just going to do an npm start. We'll just see if that alleviated the issue.
Go big or go home.
And I'm already at home, so that's what I have to do.
Bad COVID joke.
Well, you know. I mean, to be fair, I did work from home before this. So.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I think even for folks who have been doing this for years, this is different. This is very different, having kids and everybody else.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, still the same error.
Yeah, but look, now it's finally telling me something. Invalid option compress. Pretty sure that looks like a valid option here, right? Compress. Huh. Okay. So the only other thing I could potentially think is if it doesn't like some of my...
Like, could you really just do one at a time?
Yeah, I'll run this one individually. We'll get it set up, and then we'll migrate it back into here. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and... Because I suppose if there's any spaces, but there's no spaces in there. Okay, so let's try just individually. So let's go first, I suppose. Let's do that. Oh yeah, dude, we're in big trouble here. I don't understand. Okay. Oh, I didn't install it globally, so it wouldn't recognize it as a command prompt. So I won't be able to easily fix it like that. So I guess we'll... Does that make sense, though? I didn't install it globally, so I can't run it from the command prompt since we didn't register any path variables.
Yeah. The infamous -G.
I spelled it wrong. Okay. All right, now we got to help. That's good. I wonder, I mean, what do you think? You think we should just run it? Why not? I wonder if, I mean, I wouldn't have suspected that had been an issue to have to install it globally, but we'll give it a try. If not, then we'll run it once here and see what's going on. But at least it's installed globally now. Okay, images, or sorry, CSS done. Images failed. Still invalid option -- compress. All right, you guys just tell me if I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Nut Puffs or what here, but it says compress right there, right? Just... Oh, hey, look, this is kind of interesting. It's just -- a name.
What is that?
That's a problem. I don't know what that -- means. I didn't really. I omitted it because I didn't really. Huh. That's interesting. Oh, if you wish to do it before. Okay, so I just need to move the location. Okay, you see this? That's cute. All right, I see what the problem is. So basically, if I just change the order of my parameters, it should fix it. I don't know if you all read that as fastly as I did.
No,
sorry.
I still didn't get it, but I mean, go ahead and do it in code. Let's see what you're doing.
All right, so let's remove these from there. Oh, sorry. This way. So let's take this. So this is the file that we're supposed to be minifying, or file location. It apparently wants that first, or you have to separate it with the -- That apparently was the issue. Whoops. Now we'll see if the rest of our pathing is correct. So, okay. So the issue was, or is, or could be, you see, it says if you wish to put your options before the input files, place the -- there. Well, I didn't have the -- so it didn't like it.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever. All right. So, what do you say we just do it? That was a unique little case there. All right, hitting our CSS files.
And this is where it
Come
fails. So no,
on.
it does. Yeah.
Invalid option compress. Okay. Well, now, okay, that's fine. The other well, I wonder now if it's not grabbing the correct, file names. Because look at how it's like not outputting the actual. All right, let's try this. Okay, so let's go from here. We need to go assets / all right, we're gonna try to run it once outside of there and see what's going on. So this is the location that we want to minify from. -- compress -- mangle, and then we're going to supply an output file. Location of assets /dist/js. Okay, let's see. Whoa. Okay, so I want some quotations apparently. Okay.
This is nothing but a battle against Uglify.
Yeah. Huh. I've used it before, and I don't remember having this much trouble. I don't know what Well, that was incredibly quick. It obviously worked or something. Okay, well, I think we at least got it to run there. I suppose let's see if it made a file. Where am I at? Bootstrap 4. Look at that. There it is. All right, let's see if we can get it worked into Sitefinity. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Ugly as intended.
Hey. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so what did we do here? So we had to specify that, and that apparently needed to be in quotations. So, all right, let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. Now, the only other copy sprites, cross environment shell, copy files. So I wonder, does this have any? I wonder if this has something. I think I need to use the cross environment, and that's probably why we have things placed into multiple executions. Well, anyway, let's try this a little bit differently. All right, we're gonna try. What do you say? Let's try this once more, and let's see if this fixes it. The issue now at hand is really just. Oh, whoops! I didn't update this correctly. It's gonna fail. I forgot to update my minified path location. Let's go ahead and cancel this one real quick. Let's start it one more time. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to work in this cross environment config thing. That's what I believe allows me to execute the configuration. I forgot about that portion of it. That's why we've separated them into separate tasks. Now that I remember the full course of it, you know, I could have come prepared for that, right? Oh, silly me.
Keeps it
I don't know.
alive.
It failed. It failed as we expected. So let's do this real quick. So we'll go build. That's why we were doing that stuff before. And let's come down here to go JS. All right, so let's run this as the cross environment. And let's do it like that. Okay, let's try it like that. And let's see.
I wasn't sure to correct you. Like if Bluid.js was a thing, who knows?
So let's run build JS. Okay. And that'll still run that. All right, one more time. All right, I promise.
You actually have wood that you can knock on.
It's just my desk. You know. I don't know. It might be made out of wood. It's all like covered in something, so who knows what it's made out of. All right, fingers crossed.
Stirring.
Oh, look at that! Run, build. Oh, it did it. Totally did it.
Yeah, definitely much more, or way past where it failed.
2:15 is the last timestamp, so that's good. We got it.
All right.
All right, so just a little memory issues on my part. I don't know exactly how to set it up, but let's review. So what we did was we set up a task called build.js. This then runs the npm cross configuration environment. That's the part that I was initially forgetting. This then allows us to use our configuration components from above within our script. So now we can go Uglify, location of the script, what do you want it to do, compress plus mangle, and then where we want it to go, the output location. From there, we then executed the task itself in a silent mode running here. So we did it there. Actually, I think we probably could have even done it right here and maybe even skipped a step, or maybe there's some additional components that we needed to run up in here. But I think image min, let's see if we can, I think we could probably duplicate one of these lines, and I think we could go watch JS on change. Let's change this to, let's see if we can get this to run real quick. Okay. So I'm going to change this to JavaScript location. It's going to watch all the folders, and then it's going to rerun the JS operation. And then let's toss that into the watch here. So watch JS. All right. And then the watch command gets run during the start. So let's cancel out of this one here. And let's run it again, and then we'll make a quick JavaScript error. Actually, in fact, let's go ahead and make a reference to it as well. Let's see here, where are we at? All right, I think we can load this one up in the bottom with some other stuff. It doesn't matter if we reference it up there or down there. Although we do, what is this one? Oh, it's style sheets. Yeah, let's throw it in the bottom here. So let's go. All right, we'll give the location to it, and we'll place it in the bottom. And so this will live from here. Actually, we can just go like this. So we're going to make a specific reference to that new file that we just created. As long as, whoops. All right, as long as I got all that right, we can double check over here. All right, so resource packages, query on Bootstrap 4, assets, dist, js, global min. Okay, cool. So we got the reference in there. We can save that. Hopefully this will fix our one JavaScript error that we had on here, which it will, or should. And let's see if our watch command, okay, it didn't fail, so that's good. And it seems like it's watching the JavaScript location.
I gave you a thumbs up before it even did not fail.
All right, one more second here and this should be done. And then we'll try a quick change to the JavaScript just to make sure it's watching it. And then I think we've covered our topics for today. But any questions, Sam, while this is compiling the rest of the way? Or anybody in the room for that matter?
No, not really. I mean, you just added the references back in, like where to grab the minified stuff from. So, yeah.
All right, so this time I'm logged in, so our header got a little bit bigger here. We'll fix that with CSS on another day. But let's make sure that we don't have any other console errors or anything. Looks good there. But let's make a quick change to the global. In this global, I have a doc ready, so let's just maybe throw in a little, just an alert. All right, in theory, so if we watch this, as I save it, that should execute again. And we'll give it a second for that 218. It's not quite time right now. Let's see if it actually. JavaScript source, run. Okay, should have ran it. Let's see if it worked. And boo. Might have to work a little bit. Oh, we got an error though. Oh, that's something else. That's something else. All right. Well, it doesn't appear that it's watching my files for some reason.
Yeah, I mean that's the second step. I mean, you got the basics.
Yeah, we did. We got it pretty far. I think if we definitely if we cancel this, I can work on why it's not watching it. If we start it again, it definitely will work in theory. So. But yeah, let's go ahead and sign off for today. I even went a little bit longer than I intended, but I knew we had to get this done here. So
yeah, no, and these are real. I mean, you're essentially fighting how Uglify wants you to do things. So that's all good. And
we won.
Yeah, you won. Hooray!
Yeah, the rest of it again, it's probably something just minor that I just need to tweak. As far as where it's watching and what it's watching, but yeah. I'll get it adjusted and we'll talk about it more next time.
All right, yeah, I like it. So hang on one second, let me see.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So basically, I stopped the script and ran it again and it worked. So
cool. Okay, I'm going to try doing something real quick and see if that will work.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I might hand off folks here to a friend of ours who we know is streaming, so stay with us. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for...
thank you, Sam.
Spending the time powering through. And yeah, folks in the chat room, we love you. We love you. And hopefully you come and join us for the next stream. So... I think that's it from us, and yeah, there you go. So the raid is working. So that's it from us, and thank you, and bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.